Hello and welcome everyone to the ISCA Thursday Super Cup Series, I should say. And it is going to be an exciting night. Of course, we're going to be racing at the Charlotte Roval, pretty much the cross between the oval and road course here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So definitely going to be an exciting one for sure. And to even make the excitement even more high is, of course, this is a playoff race, I should say, a cutoff race. 4 people are going to be leaving tonight and unfortunately are not going to move on to the round of 8 here in the Super Cup Season Championship. And go ahead and talk a little bit about those 4 people that could be going home. Of course, below the cut line at the moment is Darren Mullins, Matt DeCiani, Kenny Powell, and Ryan Strunk. Now, Kenny Powell and Ryan Strunk are essentially in must-win situations at the moment. Of course, Kenny Powell about 19 points pretty much below the cut line. Ryan Strunk 44. And I don't see Strunk actually in the grid right now or qualifying. We actually are in the midst of qualifying at the moment. Darren Mullins, of course, is -6. Matt DeCiani is -9. DeCiani, I do believe, missed last race, if I'm not mistaken. So he's not in necessarily a must-win as I kind of portrayed it last week. But he is in he must do well, essentially. Randy Mullins and Greg Wyshynski kind of also have a question mark beside their names, whether they're going to move on to the next round, just considering they are +7 and Greg Wyshynski is +6. So they're very close when it comes to points, and very interesting to see how that kind of affects the way the stages play out in tonight's race. Of course, we are going to have stage cautions, which is kind of something that is back in action here in the ISCA and in NASCAR itself. And I myself do not like that fact, but of course it is going to allow for some of these drivers that maybe make mistakes. Road course racing is a lot of times is about limiting the amount of mistakes you make out on the racetrack, and that's going to give these guys another chance to really get back caught up to the field and have a chance to possibly still even win the race, even with a big mistake. Of course, we've got about 8 minutes left in qualifying at the moment. Let's take a look at the race facts for this evening's race. We're 73 laps here at the Charlotte Roval. That's 166 miles for the Cheerwine 166. Stages are 14 and 33. I do believe the caution flag should fly coming to the start of lap 15 as well as the start of lap 34. 5 sets of tires, 4 I do believe actually down in the pits. Fuel window is 37 laps, so it's going to be really tight on the gas, I think, for that final stage. I don't think they're going to be able to make it. I think that actually is just going to be just barely about 3 laps shy of being able to make that. Now, of course, because of the stage break, the caution is going to come out on lap 34, or coming to 34, I should say. That could make it possible. Because you're going to be pacing, a lot of times when you're pacing, you're not really burning near as much gas. You're able to kind of run it in 5th or 4th gear, which does not burn as much fuel. And unfortunately, my name is Brian Britt, of course. Unfortunately, I thought Big Al was going to be joining me this evening, but I think it's going to be me solo here tonight, unfortunately. Hopefully he'll show up maybe at some point in tonight's festivities. But we're watching, of course, Jeffrey Souza out here in the midst of qualifying at the moment. And we'll go ahead and kind of bring the precursor during qualifying, or kind of show where everybody right now is qualified up until qualifying ends. Of course, Matt DeCiani at the moment is at the top of the board. We see Jeffrey Souza. He's about 2.58 seconds back time-wise. Brandon Pasolaco has been very fast in practice as well. Let's take a look at all the drivers that are kind of saved. Let's look at the Super Cup point. And kind of looking at this, you see Patrick Gitter, he's at the top of the board right now, 109 points ahead of everybody, or above the cut line, I should say. Brandon Pasolaco, who we were just talking about, he's 88 points above that cut line. So both of these drivers definitely safe, considering they also have wins underneath their belts. Chris Johnson, he's safe, been very good on points here in this round of the playoffs. He's in 3rd place. 4th place, Brian Johnson. So Chris and Brian have been doing really great here, been getting some top 5s, a lot of points here. They're both 56 and 46 points, respectively, above that cut line. Josh Schaffner, of course, pretty good points. Not the best round, I'd say, but he's definitely safe, I do believe, at the moment. Shane Parrish, I think he's safe. If he makes I'd say, catastrophic mistake here in this race, if he does not collect stage points, which I don't even see him actually in the running order here for qualifying. So I hope he shows up, because if he does not show up and he does not collect any stage points or finish this race, that could really change the complexion here of the round of 8, the top 8 that actually go on to the next round. Of course, to race at Vegas next week. Of course, Randy Mullins, we talked about him. He's +7. He's in 7th place. Greg Wychinski, he's in 8th place, +6. Darren Mullins, this is when you get below the cut line, -6. Matt DeCiani missed a couple races. He's -9. He needs to have at least a solid day. He needs to finish, I think, in the top 5. He needs to get solid stage points. I think he'll do that if he qualifies well. But it looks like, looking at the running order right now, qualifying order, I should say, Matt DeCiani has just got kicked to 2nd spot by Patrick Gitter. But looking a little bit further into the points pylon here, and you can see Kenny Powell, must-win scenario, essentially. He's -19. Now, if Shane Parrish is not here, that could change things a little bit for Kenny Powell, but he still is going to need essentially a perfect day. Ryan Struck, if he shows up here, he needs to win. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He has to win this race in order to pretty much move on to the round of 8, and I don't think it's going to happen. Of course, we also do have some non-playoff drivers out there in the field as well. That could very much complicate things. And we've got some new drivers, Allison Nolan, or of course Josh Nolan, as I know him as. His actual name is Josh Nolan. Kind of a funny story on how he got the Allison Nolan name in Sim. I'm not going to go into it, of course, but definitely glad to have Josh Nolan joining the ISCA. Lots of new drivers kind of been showing up. I know Jerry Walters showed up last week. I don't think he's going to be here tonight, unfortunately, but we got, Mark Sanchez, J.C. Evans. Those guys nearly missed the round of 12, and but still they're not quitting, not giving up. Miller Bonds, of course, another unknown, or not an unknown, more of a non-playoff driver. Derek Heitman, he's shown some speed in practice. He's always been kind of a competent road course racer, not the best by any means here. I think that belongs probably to DeCiani or Gitter. But he definitely, I think, is going to be possibly in the running. I mean, a lot of times it takes him a few laps and he gets the track somewhat figured out, and he'll be up there in the mix, I do believe. So we'll definitely see how that plays out. But, I mean, there's a lot of variables. Jeffrey Souza as well. But definitely going to be interesting to see how kind of all this plays out. Let's take a look at the track fact. And, of course, this is a 2.24-mile road course in Concord. Of course, North Carolina, essentially Charlotte area. Track temp right now is 98 degrees, so pretty, I'd say, warm for this time of year. 77 degrees air temp, so that's about par for the course. I live in South Carolina. That's kind of about what it's been here lately. So, of course, the wind is about 6 miles an hour, kind of give or take. It's going up and down, very inconsistent for sure, partly cloudy. So we could see some cloud cover that could affect some parts of the racetrack. That is for sure. But definitely kind of interesting to see how this the temperatures and conditions kind of play. Of course, most of the time when we see these road courses, tire wear does not seem to matter that much. I'm wondering if that's going to be different. One reason I think it could very well be different is because this is a Roval. This is not, the standard road course we see. We've seen in Indianapolis, but Indianapolis is a lot more of a flatter oval. So this track, Charlotte, is not as flat in the corners, especially. So these guys driving on the corners, the oval portions of this racetrack, could very well burn the tires up a little bit more than we see at other road courses. So I'm definitely very curious to see what the strategy is going to be. I do believe we could even see some guys in first stage not take tires. We could see some guys actually just stay out for both stage for stage one, not even pit at all. Just considering the fuel window, I do believe is about 35 laps or 34 laps. I think it were 33, somewhere in there. That makes it to where you really don't have to pit during the stages, during the stage one, I should say, and that could be a really awesome way to gain track position, or to keep track position, I should say. But then again, guys that are further back in the pack, it could be a good way to possibly get new tires and maybe change the outlook of their race, having a little bit more maneuverability. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, we're getting to the end of qualifying here. I think now's the perfect time. We'll take a step away, pay some attention to our sponsors. But before then, we'll play our national anthem. We'll be right back.
Oh, say, can't you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Race fans, it is time for those most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines!
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms, from camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I'm so comfortable, bro. We get a hug, man. What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISCA Thursday Super Cup Series. Of course, the grid is set here for this evening's action. Patrick Gitter taking the pole with a very, very fast lap, a minute 18.880, which is just scorching fast. Matt DeCiani, of course, going to be starting in that second spot, about 4/10 behind him. Much different lap times there. Of course, third in line, Brandon Pascalacqua. Fourth in line, Brian Johnson. Fifth place going to be Derek Heitman. Josh Schaffner, looks like Heitman actually missing the grid. Josh Schaffner starting in sixth. Seventh place, Randy Mullins. Chris Johnson in eighth place. Ninth place, Greg Wachinski. Kenny Powell in 10th. 11th place, Miller Bonds. Jeffrey Souza in 12th. 13th place, J.C. Evans. 14th, Frank Flores. 15th, new driver Allison Nolan, or Josh Nolan. John Biders in 16th. 17th, Mark Sanchez. That is a look top to bottom at our grid. And here we go, prepared to get this thing underway here. The Cheerwine's 166, or Cheerwine 166, not Wines. But Patrick Gitter showing he knows his way around this racetrack with a scorching lap here. Of course, going to be taking, I do believe, a caution circuit, a pace lap around this place. Going to be very helpful to familiarize these drivers and us as well on how to get around this place. You can see Patrick Gitter starting and stopping, trying to, I do believe, heat the tires and possibly the brakes as well. Brakes definitely going to be very much used here today. And we were looking as well at the I ratings for these two drivers that start up front. Over 3,000 road I rating. Very impressive considering these guys are very high oval I rating, over 5K, I do believe. So interesting to see. You know, they've really honed, I think, their skills when it comes to road course racing. Well, let's see exactly what happens, though, as we file, of course, through the oval portions of this racetrack. And you can see what I was talking about earlier about the bankings up here in the oval portions. Now, this could cause significant tire wear, considering the setups on these race cars for most of these drivers are probably somewhat of a road course setup that you don't want to really set up like you would in an oval, where you'd have a whole lot of toe. You really want more of the toe to be straight up. That way you kind of can take left and rights without too much difficulty. And that makes the oval portions of this racetrack with the toe would be useful. A little bit more hard, I'd say, on the tires as we come through, of course. One of the back, I do believe the backstretch chicane here. There's a lot of issues that could happen through that area for sure. Very easy to hit the wall. Very easy to blow right through that. Of course, you'd get a slowdown penalty as well. And here we go. I do believe we're getting ready to exit what would be in the oval turn number 4. Right before the pace car essentially goes down pit road. Patrick Gitter set to start the cutoff race on the pole. This is going to end the round of 12 and start the round of 8. And there goes the pace car down the pit road. And Patrick Gitter with the field in hand, going to lead us there to green as the green flag is out in the air. Didn't really see a visible restart zone, but Patrick Gitter definitely getting the wave from Barney the flagman and enters turn number 1 into the infield portion of this racetrack. Now, this is a treacherous area. Slow is fast through these portions of the racetrack. You really do not want to overdrive the race car. If it looks flashy and you're starting to look like you're drifting through this portion of the track, you really are doing it wrong. Of course, Patrick Gitter secures the lead. He's got about an 0.8 of a second gap back to Matt DeCiani. DeCiani has about the same gap back to Brandon Pascalacqua. So far, so good. I think everybody, for the most part, clean. Of course, I think Mark Sanchez, I do believe, having to start, or Derek Heitman as well, starting from the pits, as well as Mark Sanchez, I do believe. We don't see a whole lot of side-by-side racing. Most of these drivers doing a fine job of kind of staying apart from one another. You can see Randy Mullins definitely wanting to get as many points as he can. He's up in the 5th place position, got by Josh Schaffner. And Schaffner trying to track his prey back down. Schaffner catches up quickly to the chicane portion. Of course, this is on the front stretch leading to the start-finish line. We complete, of course, lap number 1 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Here comes Josh Schaffner to the inside. Big send into turn 1, and I think he's going to get it done very close to the wall. Of course, this race, this stage, I should say, goes to lap 14 to 15. And that'll be when the flag will wave. Of course, everybody going to be wanting to get as many stage points as they possibly can, especially guys like Randy Mullins and Greg Wychinski, as well as Kenny Powell. Powell's up to, of course, that 9th place position. Powell in the solid black ISCA race car, of course, definitely representing his colors as he falls onto the oval portion of the racetrack. Greg Wychinski pulling away, though, over 2 seconds right now between 8th and 9th. And you can, of course, see that the 99 of Chris Johnson starting to catch up to Randy Mullins. Randy Mullins somewhat struggling here, and Chris Johnson never been known as a road course driver, but definitely looking solid here right now tonight, trying to catch up to the back bumper of the 54. Of course, we recently saw a new paradigm shift, if you will. Of course, that is kind of a little bit of a wordplay joke there, just considering we have a new team, Paradigm. And I'm sure Chris Johnson's been definitely taking advantage of the fact that they are putting on a lot of practicing and putting a lot of work into making sure their new team really finds success. Greg Wychinski all over the rear end of the 99 right now, though. I know Greg Wychinski, I've watched him personally do some racing this week and in the A Opens, of course, at the Charlotte Roval. So he has plenty of, I'd say, practice racing his car. Of course, Patrick Gitter still out front, 1.9 seconds, almost 2 seconds is his lead on Matt DeCiani. DeCiani absolutely having to have some good points here today, and it looks like he's well on his way. J.C. Evans back here in 15th. Of course, not doing too terribly bad. We see Allison Nolan as well. I do believe having a battle with Derek Heitman. Heitman, who started in the pits, is already up into the top 10. Kind of started this race with his hand tied behind his back. And, of course, Heitman always been a competent road course racer. I don't think he's a ringer in any way, but most of the time, when you give this guy a chance to really figure out his race car, he is going to figure it out and get a lot better. As we see a big battle there, Allison Nolan, Josh Nolan locks it up into the final chicane. And John Binder able to make the pass in the sun drop machine. And he moves up to 11. And, of course, you see as well a little bit further back, Miller Bonds in the 12 machine catching up to Nolan. So Nolan starting to fall back. Looks like he is struggling. He is new to the series, and what a way to enter the scene by coming to, of course, a road course race. Oh, almost into the wall there. As Josh Nolan definitely driving it very hard through some of these corners, a little too hard. As he's on, of course, the oval portion of the racetrack, going to be able to utilize the draft through here. But Patrick Gitter gone over 2 seconds now is his lead on Matt DeCiani as we complete, of course, lap number 4, start lap number 5. Brandon Pasalacqua, always a good road course racer. He sits in that 3rd place position right now. Of course, he's about, I do believe, about 4 seconds back from DeCiani. This is kind of normal for Brandon Pasalacqua, to be completely honest. A lot of times, he's a good road course racer. Got to give him a lot of credit. But he is not as good as Matt DeCiani and Patrick Gitter. They are just somewhat a step above. But Brian Johnson is showing some significant speed here. He's actually been kind of catching up a little bit to Pasalacqua the last couple laps. And it looks like we might have missed some issues possibly with Josh Schaffner. Randy Mullins has gotten up to 5th. Let's see if we can find out exactly what happened to Schaffner. And it looks like we're seeing it right here. Josh Schaffner went off the racing surface, and this is how he lost so many positions. We see right here, of course, Josh Schopner. I think this is before he had actually lost those spots. He had gotten passed by Greg Wachinski. This is a secondary crash, and right here sideways, and right off the track into the barriers there, into the wall. And he, of course, is going to try to rejoin. Let's see if we can go a little bit further back. So it looks like just you see Schopner just having a lot of trouble here tonight. I'm kind of shocked. Usually a pretty good road course racer himself, but it looks like he is just a bad night gone bad, or a bad night gone worse, I should say. As you can see, he was catching up, I do believe, to the 99 of Chris Johnson, and it looks like he got back by him. Of course, we're looking back now, and Schopner's deep in this pack outside of the top 10 now, having a battle with Jeffrey Souza. So he's trying to, I do believe, probably get his rhythm back. Josh Schopner, usually a top 5, top 10 road course racer here in the ISCA, but unfortunately looks like he is just having his fair share of issues as he races with Schopner, or with Souza, I should say. And what a race we've seen from Greg Wachinski. This is exactly the kind of race that Greg needed. Of course, he's up in this 6th place position right now. He's about 4 seconds back from Randy Mullins. And, of course, these two are the ones that are really battling. They're just above the cut line. Of course, Randy Mullins entered this race 7 points above the cut line, while Greg Wachinski entered 6 points above. So kind of surprised, not a surprise to see Randy kind of running in that 5th spot with Greg in 6th. I think Greg, if it was to be a better outcome for him, I think he'd want to get by Randy Mullins. But I think at the moment, if he finishes where he is, I think he'd be in fairly good shape. Got to give credit, though, to Kenny Powell as well. What a good race so far for him. He's up to the 8th place position. Of course, Patrick Gitter, though, starting to lose some time, actually, to Matt DeCiani. And, of course, DeCiani about 1.3 seconds back. Now, DeCiani, got to give him a lot of credit about road courses. I know one race at Sonoma not too long ago, as well as, I think, the Indy road course, just showed a ton of speed. He's been really honing his craft at the road courses. You could just clearly tell. But, of course, I am noticing Patrick Gitter seems to be faster through some of these chicanes than DeCiani. But I think in the infield portion of the track, it seems like DeCiani is definitely a little bit more successful. But what a race we've seen thus far. It's been fairly calm and collected. Haven't seen too many issues. Of course, I do believe maybe John Binder with some issues, actually. So he is on pit road with 2 laps down. You see some major damage. Let's see if we can find out what happened here. Looking at the instant replay to see exactly what the first accident is, we can see. And, of course, that is actually Josh Nolan hitting the outside wall. So it's not particularly what we were looking for. And I'm trying to see exactly what happened to Binder. See, he still has the front end damage, so we still haven't managed to find exactly what happened to him. But it looks like as a result of the contact with the wall, he has come down pit road. And I think we're getting ready to see the results of this damage. Of course, we see Josh Nolan, who we were watching hit the wall earlier. This is the, yep, right there, boom. I'm glad we found that because, wow, what a hit on the front nose. Looks a lot like what we saw from Kevin Harvick one year at the Roval. I do believe that was, if I'm not mistaken, 2020, possibly 2019. What a hard hit there from John Binder. And that is why he is on pit road getting some significant repairs. Taking a quick look at the, of course, top 10. Patrick Gitter right now in the lead. He has about a 1.4-second lead on Matt DeCiani. Brandon Pasalacqua is, of course, in third. Brian Johnson fourth. Randy Mullins in fifth. Greg Wachinski sixth. Chris Johnson seventh. Derek Heitman has made his way just to eighth. I do believe he's in the midst of a battle with Kenny Powell. 10th place, Allison Nolan. Of course, Nolan not out of the woods yet, though, considering Miller Bonds has been really tracking him down. Bonds in 11th place. He's about a second back and closing in significantly as we get closer and closer to completing lap number 9. And only, I do believe, a little bit less than 5 laps to go here in stage number 1. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen, trying to find all the little bit of action is going on out on the racetrack. Want to make sure we bring it all to your attention. Of course, pretty much this is the closest battle, I'd say, on the track right now. Allison Nolan, Josh Nolan, I should say, battling with Miller Bonds. This is for that 10th place position. Of course, not really for the points, essentially. These guys both not really in the Super Cup playoffs. I do want to update as well that Josh Schaffner has moved his way up to that 12th place position. So he is still in the running. Now, it's going to be very difficult for him to make his way back up into the top 5. But it is possible. I will not say that it's not. I will say it's not impossible, just considering the simple fact we still do have these stage breaks. Cautions will come out that will line this field all the way back up together, and all that time deficit, of course, the 47 seconds, 48 seconds that Schaffner is behind Patrick Gitter will pretty much be erased when the caution flag flies. Of course, we see Miller Bonds making a big move to the inside of Josh Nolan. He makes the pass. He's up to now 10th place. Of course, he's got about a little bit over 2 seconds to go to get up to Kenny Powell. You see J.C. Evans trying to run down Jeffrey Sousa. Frank Flores not doing too terribly. Of course, he's in that 15th place position. So one of these, this style of racing is all about, I do believe, mostly survival. You really just want to make sure that you survive until the end, and you'll get decent points. Patrick Gitter, I thought Matt DeCiani was catching up to Gitter, but it looks like that has kind of changed. 2.5 seconds now is the gap between these two, so Gitter is starting to set sail. And just looking at the lap times right now, of course, Patrick Gitter hitting almost qualifying laps. I mean, this is faster. If he hit a minute 19.019, if he hit that in qualifying, he would have gotten the pole. So very fast laps coming from Patrick Gitter. Of course, Matt DeCiani not that much slower, but slow enough. Look at that, even faster lap for Gitter that time by minute 18.998. He is hitting Q laps. And, of course, he's 12 laps into his run. So shows that tires do not seem to mean a whole heck of a lot here at the Charlotte Roval. And, of course, we got to keep in mind as well that the fuel tank of this race car is starting to get lighter. Now, he's still got quite a number of laps he could do on this stint. If he was to, he could probably go another 20 laps if need be. But you could just tell that he is getting faster and faster. That is because the car is getting lighter and lighter. Now, that can change handling as well. And looking a little bit further back as well, we see, of course, Brandon Pasalacqua. He's hitting minute 19.841, so not a bad lap from him as well. Brian Johnson, he's a lot slower than these top 3. Top 3 are hitting minute 19, minute 18 second laps. Johnson's hitting a minute 21.879. Now, one driver that is particularly fast right now, I have got to give a ton of credit, is Greg Wachinski. Wachinski has got a top 5 race car underneath him. It does appear. I mean, minute 20.847. He's hitting the 4 fastest laps on the racetrack at the moment. I mean, he has got more speed, I think, than Brian Johnson. So, I mean, I would not be surprised to see Wachinski come up here and get 5th place and maybe even battle with Randy Mullen. And speaking of that, the battle is starting to close in. Now, I think they're going to run out of time, though, before the stage ends. But Greg Wachinski going to get some really good stage points, and I think he's got what it takes to possibly beat Randy Mullins in this race and maybe jump up a position. And even though that it might not help Greg, if Greg gets in front of Randy, it's not going to really help him make the round of 8, but it still will set him up in the round of 8 for Vegas next week. He'll be one position higher in the points. Now, that's important. I mean, to have a little bit better of a little bit more comfort in the points could help Greg set him up to be a little bit, to just be a little bit calmer when it comes to performing in these playoffs. But, of course, Patrick Gitter right now 4.5 seconds almost he has on Matt DeCiani. So what a great job. As here comes Wachinski. Wachinski's trying to go for blood. He wants that position so bad. If he gets that position here in this stage, it could mean a lot. I mean, it's one more point, and it'll be a point over his competition. The driver he's essentially racing, I think, in the round of 8 right now. But it's going to be very difficult to pass. It's one thing to catch someone, another thing completely to pass. But this is the portion of the racetrack where I think the pass is possible. But unfortunately, I think he's going to run out of time here as he comes into the final chicane. Randy Mullins getting a mirror full of Greg Wachinski. Greg locks it up as, of course, they cross the line. And we, of course, have to wait. Before this stage will be over, we got to wait for Kenny Powell to cross the start-finish line. We actually, I do believe, have to start lap 15 first. And we have only started we are on lap 14, getting ready to complete. Patrick Gitter, of course, coming through the backstretch chicanes. You can just tell the difference in speed here, the difference in skill between Patrick Gitter and a driver like Kenny Powell, who's back in 10th. Not to kind of, diss Kenny Powell, but Patrick Gitter much quicker right now. Powell 51 seconds back from Patrick Gitter. That's a minute almost. And there is the caution flag. I thought we were going to have to wait for Kenny Powell to actually come across the line first. But, of course, Patrick Gitter, as soon as he crossed the line, caution flag has flown for stage number 1. Patrick Gitter, your stage 1 winner. Matt DeCiani in 2nd place. Brandon Pastelacqua in 3rd. Brian Johnson 4th. Randy Mullins barely able to hold on to 5th. Greg Wachinski 6th. Derek Heitman, big mover. Started from the pits. He's in 7th. Chris Johnson 8th. Miller Bonds 9th. Kenny Powell in 10th. That's a look top to bottom at our stage finishers. And we'll be back, of course, and we'll hopefully be able to talk to possibly we'll see who we're going to talk to. I'm thinking about maybe I know Patrick Gitter gets a lot of screen time. I'm thinking about talking to Greg Wachinski. Looks like he's fast. We'll be back.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms. From camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
Or there, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I'm so tough, bro. We get a hug. What have you done here?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
And we are back. We had a wreck under caution. Has erased essentially Derek Heitman's front bumper. As of course they were trying to get caught up to the pace car. Derek Heitman now missing his front bumper. We just I witnessed that as he was catching back up. I didn't actually see the accident itself, so I went back kind of hunting for it while we were under commercial and found that. Wow, that is going to change possibly the complexion of this race. Will he be able to continue competitively with that significant damage? But we're going to go ahead and see if we can possibly grab Greg Wachinski. Greg, I hope I'm not bothering you. Is this a bad time?
Nah, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Doing good. I kind of wanted to talk to you. I know we were kind of looking back and saw what happened to Derek Heitman missing that front bumper, but you have been one of the focal points I've been talking about a lot, kind of the subject, I'd say, how fast you've been going. A minute 20-second laps. You've been hitting top 4 lap times here the last few laps, and you were really all over the back of Randy Mullins. What's the motivation here? Are you trying to make sure you kind of set yourself up for the round of 8?
Yeah, just trying to pick off as many spots as I can. I mean, once the tires, get warm, I just feel confident with the car this week. I feel pretty good.
Now, how did you prepare? I know I've seen you personally do some A Opens, and it seemed like you've gotten some good finishes. You've kind of gone through the motions. Do you feel like you've improved kind of a lot when it comes to the road courses, and why do you think that is?
I mean, I've definitely ran a lot more practice laps this week than I normally do. I've ran a couple of the A Open races and just tried to keep it on track. I mean, that's all you can really do. If you just finish the race, you're probably finishing the top 10. I mean, that's usually how it is. So, yeah, just trying to take it easy, take care of my stuff, and finish the race.
Well, it definitely seems like you're on track to possibly get some good points here. You just got to try to keep it clean. I know you were really trying to race with Randy Mullins. I saw you lock up the tires there. I mean, how desperate were you to try to get in front of him there?
Yeah, that was scary. I did have to lock him up, or I would have definitely been two cars would have been gone. It was getting fun there at the end. I love racing with Randy. He's a good guy. Race is clean, so I'm sure we'll see more of that as we get along here.
Well, we can't wait to see it. Well, definitely great job. You've been keeping it really entertaining for us, Greg. Who can we give a shout out to before we let you get back to it?
Shout out to you, doing a great job up there in the booth. I don't know if Big Al's with you tonight, but if he's not, he does a great job. Kenny in the ISCA, G&G Racing, and God, of course.
All right, Greg. Well, thanks for your time, man. We'll see you later.
You take care.
All righty, that was Greg Wachinski. Definitely a fantastic performance from him so far. I mean, up to 6th place, and definitely seems incredibly confident, of course. And I do believe pace car lights should be going out very, very soon. I think we got time. Maybe we could talk to somebody else. We do these long pace laps. We just got done talking to Greg Wachinski. I know the pace car lights are probably going to be going out soon, but we still have a little bit of time. I figured we talk to our stage winner. Patrick, you're setting some blazing fast laps, man. You're hitting qualifying laps. How you feeling?
Feeling good, man. Like the car. I'm trying to just kind of keep it under me. A little bit of balance in it, trying to see what it can do for late race, but at the same time, trying not to overdrive it and make a mistake.
Well, I mean, I know you got to be feeling pretty comfortable. Like you're probably relaxed in a lot of ways because you don't really need to win this race. But I think a lot of times that makes you probably perform the best. Would you say that'd be true?
Yeah, I think so. I think it gives more of an opportunity to kind of experiment, see what you can get away with as far as pushing the car in that position. So I'm fortunate to be in that position this week. Matt's been fast. He was right with me that first run. I think he just decided he was going to be safe, not push the car, and I think that's the only reason why I had a gap on him there at the end. So I think you'll see that change up here later in the race, especially at the end.
Yeah, because it does seem like he's definitely got some speed, but towards the end of that stint, you kind of started running away from him. Had a 4 or plus second lead there. If he starts to kind of race with you, what's the thought process? Because he's your teammate and he needs points.
Yeah, I think it's just be smart. Got teammates. We're both trying to capitalize on points. I'm not going to do anything that would jeopardize us both from a points position. I think it's just be smart, be mindful of who's around you, and go from there.
All right. Well, I know pace car lights are out, so we'll let you get back to it. Who can we shout out, Patrick, after your stage 1 win?
Yeah, appreciate the guys at EPI and Team Conti. They've got a great set this week. A lot of good feedback from the team. Appreciate those guys. C12 Design Shop, Martin PC. Appreciate all those guys, and of course you guys in the booth, and Kenny for hosting this league for us.
All right, Patrick. Well, good luck to you. Hopefully we'll get. I'm sure we'll get to talk to you later, like I said, unless something unfortunate happens. But good luck to you.
I hope so, guys. I appreciate it.
Alrighty, that was Patrick Gitter, of course, driver of the 21 machine. Absolutely dominated stage number 1. He led every single lap. He's led every single lap thus far as we get ready to start stage number 2. Of course, this stage goes to lap 33, I do believe, going to 34. So when we start lap 34, that is when the caution flag will fly. And these guys that are fighting, of course, for the stage points are running out of time, running out of potential stage points. When we finish this race, hopefully we'll know fairly soon who will make the, of course, top 8 in the Super Cup season. But we appreciate everybody out there tuning in. If you're just joining us, we're racing here at the Charlotte Roval. 73 laps here in ISCA Thursday Super Cup competition. We are in a cut race to where 4 drivers will be essentially going home after this race without moving on to have potentially a championship on the line. Pace car lights are out. We're getting ready to go back green once again here as we get ready to finish lap 18, and lap 19 will start us off. Of course, a lot of these drivers did stay out. Taking a look at it, we see the top 7 actually stayed out on older tires. Everybody behind 7th place did go in. Pace car dips down pit road. Patrick Gitter coming through the final chicane will get the green flag here in just a moment. There it is. Green flag is out for the 2nd time here. And you saw big moves there from Brian Johnson trying to make sure he got clear of Randy Mullins. Chris Johnson trying to fight with Greg Wachinski. And it looks like Greg Wachinski is able to come out on top against Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson, I believe, on newer tires right now, has gotten by Josh Nolan. Kenny Powell also trying to see if he could possibly capitalize and get by the 94 machine. I know Josh Nolan talked to him a little bit before the race, said he was a pretty comfortable road course racing. This is a different animal, though, on the road courses. I know I see him race in the Indy Pro 2000, the Toyota GR86. Very different race cars than this, heavy, lumbering beast that is the NASCAR Next Gen. Patrick Gitter already out to a 1.4 second lead. He is pulling away right now as we get ready to complete lap 19. I think one of the other drivers to watch really is Brandon Pasalacqua. Of course, he's shown some significant speed here tonight, but has not really been able to measure up to Matt DeCiani or Patrick Gitter. I think he's been working incredibly hard. It's got to be frustrating for a driver like the 6 of Pasalacqua. It's just, if Gitter and DeCiani were not here, he'd be a race winner. And then, what does he need to do to really improve himself, to get good enough to really be able to fight with those guys? And I'm sure that is a nonstop, thing that he is trying to attain. Just to be able to get up there and be able to battle with Matt DeCiani. And you can just tell, looking on board, that he is very much trying to. Let's see if we can, I think now would be a good time. Let's take a look on board with Pasalacqua. You can see kind of looking on board here as he comes onto the oval portion of the racetrack. And Matt DeCiani just kind of pulling away on him. This would be the portion of the racetrack he should be able to gain on DeCiani, but I think a lot of this, when you're chasing that carrot on the stick at a track like this, it's kind of the mentality that you fall into, and sometimes that could provoke you to drive the race car a little too hard. And racetracks like this, you really do not want to sacrifice your entry, or should I say, your exit for your entry. I mean, a lot of people say that, okay, I can drive it in really deep and catch up to them on entry, but you're going to lose that time on the exit. And I think that's what Pasalac was kind of doing right now, to be honest. And that is not to pick on Brandon Pasalac. If I was out here on this racetrack, I would be doing much, much worse. Of course, we were talking to Greg Wychinski after stage one, and he has now moved his way up into the 5th position, has gotten by Randy Mullins. Josh Schaffner, driver of the 50 machine, trying to work his way back forward. He, of course, is right behind Jeffrey Souza right now. Frank Flores up into the top 10 here at the road course. What is going on here? He has got to be making so much improvements when it comes to road course racing. Taking a quick look at the, of course, top 10 at the moment. Patrick Gitter up front, 1.3 seconds, almost a 1.3 second lead. Brandon Pasalac, over Matt DeCiano, I should say. Brandon Pasalac was, of course, in 3rd place. Brian Johnson's in 4th. Greg Wychinski's 5th. Randy Mullins is in 6th. Chris Johnson having a good day. He's in 7th. 8th place, Kenny Powell. Josh Nolan's in 9th. Frank Flores is in 10th as we see Jeffrey Souza go high to let Josh Schaffner go, as well as Derek Heitman. Heitman, it looks like they have glued the front bumper back on that race car. So definitely glad to see that for sure. It looked like he definitely was going to be struggling there, but luckily his crew was able to really get that machine fixed. And he's looking like he might even have a chance to possibly get by Josh Schaffner. He's in that 12th place position right now. Frank Flores goes high, and Schaffner's going to take the 10th position. But he, of course, has some company with Derek Heitman. Oh, we got Kenny Powell slow. Looks like Kenny Powell with some issues. As well as Miller Bonds trying to avoid. Watching Kenny Powell and see exactly what happened. He looks like he lost it kind of going over the curbs. Oh, and Josh Nolan, unfortunately, getting into the 24 there. And that is what slowed Kenny Powell down so much and allowed, of course, Derek Heitman and Josh Schaffner to get by. And you see Frank Flores was trying to get by as well. Powell able to kind of get himself back under speed. But Josh Nolan definitely going to have some damage. As we take a look at that race car, doesn't look too severe. Definitely going to have to keep an eye on that for the remainder of the race as we're on lap 23, coming up to 10 laps to go in stage number 2. Of course, Patrick Gitter out front, 1.75 seconds right now over Matt DeCiani. Brandon Pasalac, of course, sits in that 3rd position. Brian Johnson, pretty respectable day. He's up in 4th, or in 4th, I should say. Now, Greg Wychinski, before the caution flag for that stage break, Wychinski was faster than Brian Johnson. Now, unfortunately, they are separated right now by about 8 seconds. Which is a long way from one another. So Wychinski, I think, is capable of a top 4 here tonight. But unfortunately for him, he is too far back from Brian Johnson to really capitalize. And of course, you see battling kind of all over this racetrack. It's fairly common at the moment. We see Kenny Powell, I do believe, battling with Miller Bond. Bond's trying to catch up to Powell. As well as we see, I do believe, Allison Nolan, Josh Nolan, under fire from Josh Schaffner. So battle of the Joshes are going to be underway here soon. As where's Derek Heitman still all over Josh Schaffner. You can see, of course, Josh Nolan on Chris Johnson's rear end as well. So Chris Johnson starting to struggle a little bit here. Can Josh be able to make the pass? But it looks like he loses momentum on the exit. Very difficult to make passes at tracks like this. Even if you could be the fastest driver, the fastest road course driver, but if you don't know how to take that car outside of its comfort zone in order to make these passes, you're not going to find a lot of success when it comes to actually getting by other drivers. So, and a lot of times that provokes a lot of frustration from these drivers, but it does look like Josh Nolan definitely figuring it out a lot more. A lot earlier in the race, he looked a lot more naive when it came to the way he was driving this racetrack, but it seems like he's gotten a lot more mature in the 25 laps, the first 25 laps here. So I suspect we'll probably see, of course, a different driver in the last 2/3 of this race. Of course, Nolan is still under fire from Josh Schaffner. Schaffner no slouch himself, as well as Derek Heitman, who is, of course, pressuring Schaffner to make a move. Another driver we haven't talked a whole lot about, Kenny Powell. Here comes Josh Nolan. He moves up the track. He's going to let Josh Schaffner go. Very respectable thing to do, just considering he realizes that Josh Schaffner is a playoff driver. And of course, Schaffner really, I'd say, safe right now in the points. But still, every point is going to matter, especially when we get down to the Final Four. You're going to really want as many points as you possibly can have in order to possibly point your way in. And Schaffner catches up to the back end of Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson as well is a playoff driver. But Chris Johnson, very safe at the moment. Been very consistent. Awesome racing for him. He is, of course, third, I do believe, in the points at the moment. Now, as I was talking about before, a driver that I've talked about a little bit, but not a lot, has been Kenny Powell, who is in a must-win scenario, essentially. Back in 12th place, has been having a little bit of troubles, had some contact with Josh Nolan. He came into the race kind of, I don't think, in a very confident mindset. I don't think he thinks he can make it to the round of 8. And I think in a lot of ways he's probably right. But then again, Shane Parrish did not make it into the race here tonight. I'm curious to see how that really affects the playoffs here. If Shane Parrish is not here to collect the points, could that mean Kenny Powell is a little bit safer? Of course, Ryan Strunk's not here as well. Darren Mullins did not make the grid. And Darren Mullins, of course, is below the cut line, if I'm not mistaken, by I think about 6 points, if I'm not mistaken. And him not here to collect any points is going to make it incredibly difficult for him, of course, to make it into the round of 8. And that should make it fairly easy for Matt DeCiani, of course, who's in second place, to make it into the round of 8. But that also could possibly give Kenny Powell a way in, with Shane Parrish not here and Darren Mullins. But I think Powell desperately needs to get more points out of this. He needs to be at least in the top 10. Hope is still there for the driver of the 24, but unfortunately, with that spin, with that issue he had where he spun and left the top 10 back in 12th now, is going to put him in somewhat of a desperate situation. Josh Schaffner, who had an issue earlier in this race, fell back outside of the top 10, is now up in the top 6 now, has just gotten by Randy Mullins. Randy Mullins desperately needing points right now. Of course, I think he is somewhat safe, but really wants to, I think, like I said before, even if you're safe going into the round of 8, you got to look even further than that. You got to think 2 moves in advance, if you will. You want to set yourself up for points. You want to set yourself up for the round of 4. But Here we go, closing in on 5 laps to go here at Charlotte Motor Speedway at the Roval. Patrick Gitter out front, 2.6 seconds right now on Matt DeCiani. Brandon Pasalacqua, 10 seconds back from Matt DeCiani. You can just tell that Brandon is struggling right now. I wouldn't say relative to the drivers behind him he's not struggling, but relative to Patrick Gitter and Matt DeCiani, he's struggling. He's got a fast race car underneath him. Let's take a look at the lap times right now. Of course, last time by Patrick Gitter, he has been just so consistent with the lap times that he's able to hit. Of course, a minute 18.987 last time by. Matt DeCiani, of course, sits in that second place position right now. He is, of course, hitting minute 19.3, which has been about the second quickest laps of the race thus far. It just seems like Patrick Gitter is just on another level. Alien level right now. He's kind of got that alien status. And if you're not an iRacer, you probably don't know what that means. But alien is just like someone that is just insanely good, that it seems like it's impossible to match what they're doing. And Patrick Gitter is at that level right now, I think, here at the Charlotte Roval. Of course, interesting to note as well, Brian Johnson has really, I think, increased his speed in the last stage. Greg Wyszynski was faster than Brian Johnson. That is not the case anymore. Brian Johnson, last time by, a minute 20.376. That is about a tenth and a half faster than Greg Wyszynski. Now, of course, Wyszynski is not safe in the top 5 anymore. Josh Schaffner is coming. Josh Schaffner right now, of course, he's about 5 seconds back from Wyszynski, so I think Wyszynski is just going to be just safe enough. But keep in mind, once this stage is over, once the caution flag comes out, everybody's going to get back all together again, and that is going to put Josh Schaffner on the rear end of the 5 machine. Coming up to 3 laps to go here in stage 2. Patrick Gitter, of course, about now over 3 seconds back to Matt DeCiani. Right now we have 16 drivers on the lead lap. J.C. Evans, he's about 1 minute and 8 seconds back from Patrick Gitter, so look for him to possibly go a lap down in the next stage if he continues with this pace. If he makes a mistake right now, he could possibly go a lap down this time. But, of course, he would, I do believe, get the lucky dog. So probably would lose the opportunity to pit, just considering when you go a lap down the racetrack like this and get a wave around, you have to turn qualifying laps to get up to the back of the pack. But here comes Patrick Gitter. He's going to start, of course, lap 31. This is going to lead us to 3 laps to go. What's really interesting, earlier in the race, we saw Josh Schaffner and Derek Heitman kind of battling it out. And it looked, from my perspective, it looked like Heitman was faster than Josh Schaffner, which is very interesting. It looks like that is not the case anymore. I think that maybe Schaffner wasn't showing his full hand. I think that maybe he just figured out exactly what to do here. I think frustration, aggravation might have been clouding his mind, considering he had made that huge mistake. But I think he centered himself. The corn man ate some corn and has recentered himself and is now up in 6th. Of course, trying to run down Greg Wyszynski. Heitman, as we see right now, he's running just a little bit, a couple seconds behind, of course, Randy Mullins. You see a little bit further back is Chris Johnson. Here we go, 2 laps to go in stage number 2. What a race we've seen thus far. Will Josh Schaffner take the 5th position from Greg Wachinski? Wachinski needing as many points as he can get. J.C. Evans under fire for possibly going a lap down here. And, of course, Patrick Gitter does make the pass and puts one driver a lap down. Besides John Binder, who, of course, is 26 laps down. As we get ready to take the white flag for stage number 2. And Patrick Gitter has ran a near perfect race, has led every lap thus far. But of course he will have to pit for tires this time. And this definitely shows that tires do not mean a thing in this race. And I don't even know if we're going to have to pit to end this race, to be honest with you. 37 laps. I actually, clarification, I said 33 or something laps on fuel earlier in the race. Clarification, it's actually 37 laps that these guys have to play with on gas. And if that is the case, I do believe we might even be able to make it to the end, possibly, on gas. We'll have to wait and see how that kind of all plays out. It's going to be very, very close, very tight on the fuel. And if they're able to make it, we could see some guys trying to save. They will probably be almost out of gas. But of course, Patrick Gitter coming through the oval portions of this racetrack for the final time in stage number 2. And he will go back to back as he comes through the final chicane. He will cross the line as a stage 2 winner. That is stage 1 and 2 in the bag for Patrick Gitter. He gets led every single lap here. What a performance. Of course, Matt DeCiani comes home in 2nd place. He's been very consistent as well. Brandon Pasalaco in 3rd. Brian Johnson 4th. Greg Wachinski 5th. Josh Schaffner 6th. Derek Heitman in 7th. Randy Mullins in 8th. Chris Johnson 9th. And Josh Nolan getting his first ever top 10 here in stage 2 in the ISCA. With that, we'll go ahead and take a brief step away. We'll come back and we'll talk to, I think we'll probably dial up possibly Matt DeCiani, maybe Brandon Pasalaco. We'll decide. We'll be back.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms. From camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I feel comfortable, bro. We get a hug, man. What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISCA Thursday Super Cup Series here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Charlotte Roval to be exact. Of course, everybody's coming down pit road for their pit stops. Of course, I do believe take a set of tires and possibly fuel. Should see everybody here, I do believe, take tires. And let's see exactly what happens here. Looks like Matt DeCiani and Patrick Gitter both electing to just take fuel only here. Not seeing a lot of drivers. Oh, Josh Schaffner with a short fuel. He comes out in the lead on pit road. Now, this is incredibly crazy. Let's actually take the time to talk to Josh Schaffner. This has definitely put him up to the top of the list. Josh Schaffner, you got your ears on.
Yes, I do.
Definitely, I was going to talk to somebody else, but you just went to the top of my list there. You jumped up. You pretty much got the lead out of pit road. How did you do that? I mean, did you take a little bit of a different pit strategy there?
Yeah, the big thing was if you would have watched the first stage there, I kind of didn't really know what I was doing out there. Well, I did, but just made a lot of mistakes, and I had to fix a lot of damage after stage one. But as a result, I had fuel, so I only needed one can, and they all needed two, and that's why we're up here.
That's definitely curious. I know you made a pretty large mistake, I'd say, earlier that caused you to go outside of the top 10. You worked your way back up into 6th place, and you were catching Greg Wychinski there towards the end of that stage. But you feel like you've gotten the track the rhythm kind of set now?
Yeah, I just made 2 mistakes on cold tires, one through the bus stop, and then yeah, just kind of wheel hopped it there on the infield section, and it swung out, and that's where I got my damage. But yeah, I mean, I had some practice in, and it just mental mistakes there on my behalf, just not taking it easy on cold tires, and I'm in a pretty good rhythm now. I've got most of the damage fixed. I don't think it's hurting me too bad, but I think I'll be able to stay in the top 5 here, and as long as I don't make mistakes, and hopefully get 3 of our team cars in the top 5. That's our goal.
Yeah, definitely. What is the priority, though? Is the reason you want to get those finishes, of course, probably because of honor and glory and whatnot like that. But, also having yourself kind of on the right foot for the round of 8 or, when it starts next week at Vegas as well to kind of feel a little bit more comfortable?
Yeah, for me, I think I'm sitting okay in the points, but I obviously, after missing a race there, I needed to make sure I get points, and stage 1 didn't help me, but stage 2 did. If I can get a good finish here, that'll lock us into the round of 8, and yeah, then we'll just see how many of our guys can get in the final 4. Our goal is to have at least one of us in there, if not 2, and we're going to work really hard to make that happen as a team.
Well, definitely look forward to seeing what you can do. Before we let you go, I'm going to ask you, of course, to shout out who you'd like to shout out, but I'd like to ask, how are you going to keep Patrick Gator behind you? He has been insanely fast.
Yeah, it's probably not going to happen. He does a great job with the road courses. And he's gotten so much better every road course we went to, and kudos to him. He puts in a lot of work and does a good job having speed, but being smooth and consistent, and that's what it takes at a road course to be good. And he's got all that going on. And yeah, obviously for shout outs, I want to thank you, the ISCA, Kenny Powell, you guys up in the booth. Got to thank TWRS for the rocket ship, everybody at Paradigm Motorsports for all the hard work, and Butt Kicker for this the series sponsor, and all of our great drivers that came out again tonight.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, Josh, and good luck to you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Have a good race up there.
All righty. That was Josh Schaffner, driver of the 50 machine. He's going to be starting at the top of the pylon. These are going to be the only laps that Patrick Gitter has not led here tonight, possibly. So definitely be curious to see how this plays out. Of course, with a new leader up towards the front, what will Patrick Gitter do? I think he's been showing significant pace, but he has not had to pass anybody here. He's essentially been uncontested. Now that he's going to be possibly in dirty air, he's going to have some new company up here towards the front. Of course, he's even got Brandon Pasalakwa to deal with. He's got Derek Heitman. Matt DeCiani a couple spots back in that 6th place position, of course. We did see Chris Johnson as well peel off down pit road. I do believe probably maybe top up on gas just to make sure. But here we go. All set to get us back underway here at the Charlotte Roval. And I do believe we're going to have just possibly enough gas to make it to the end. I was wondering if possibly Schaffner was going to maybe short-pitted there, or not short-pitted, I should say, took less gas than everybody else, but it does seem like that is not the case. That Patrick Gitter, of course, had to take 2 cans, while Josh Schaffner had to take 1, as he so elegantly put it. So definitely interesting, to say the least, to see how he was able to kind of game the strategy, and because he had to come down pit road under stage 1's caution, that allowed him to get some of the damage fixed, as well as put more fuel in the tank. Just really perfect, I think a perfect sequence of events that could possibly give Josh Schaffner a top 3, possibly podium finish if he stays up here, as the pace car dips down pit road. Now let's see what Josh Schaffner has in the tank. Green flag is out. Schaffner up through the gears. Patrick Gitter. Let's see what he does into turn number 1. Patrick Gitter with a pretty good run through turn 1. Of course, Josh Schaffner still the leader. Will he lead 1 lap here? No, here comes Patrick Gitter to the inside, to the infield portions. And Patrick Gitter, ooh, very close racing. Josh Schaffner, almost some contact there with Patrick Gitter. That's going to give Matt DeCiani a position there up to top 3. Schaffner going to have to try to hold off Derek Heitman here as well. Brandon Pasalacqua only a couple tenths back from Gitter here. Can Pasalacqua take advantage? Can he pounce? And we see Brian Johnson to the inside of Derek Heitman, trying to make that pass there, I do believe, for the 5th place position. Oh, a little bit of a lockup contact here. Josh Schaffner locks it up on the entry to the chicane. And Brian Johnson suffers as a result. Oh, we see the 54 of Randy Mullins, worst case scenario. As he, of course, goes around in the chicane, loses a myriad of position. I think this might have been Domino's here. I think Domino's might have fallen in just the wrong way, as you see Mark Sanchez turns the 54. Let's take another look at this one again. And we're watching, of course, this race between Mark Sanchez and Randy Mullins. Oh, and Sanchez into the rear end of the 54, turns him right around. And I'm wondering, was there some malicious intent there? Definitely a curious accident that I'm sure is going to be looked at later. And we're going to look at it through the cockpit camera. And it looks like, to be completely honest, from what it seems like, I think Randy Mullins just kind of slowed down for the chicane a little bit earlier than Mark Sanchez kind of thought he was going to. And unfortunate for Randy Mullins, who needed points. He was 7 points above the cut line. Could this change the outlook of the round of 8? Could this help a driver like Kenny Powell? Having points over competition like Randy Mullins could be the difference maker. Patrick Gitter out front has about a half of a second lead on Matt DeCiani, who has gotten by Brandon Pasalacqua. Of course, Paradigm hold 3rd, 4th, and 5th at the moment. Derek Heitman, of course, in a battle between him and Greg Wachinski for 7th. You see Wachinski all over the back end of the 76 right now. This is the closest battle pretty much on the racetrack, as things have heated up for stage number 3. As we get ready to complete lap number 40. Miller Bonds as well up into the top 10, up into 8th place right now. Of course, he's got about a little over 3 seconds over Chris Johnson at the moment. What a race. This has definitely been just pure high-octane action. The race is starting to heat up for the lead Patrick Gitter said that Matt DeCiani might not have been shown his full hand. He said that he might get raced for that lead eventually. And it looks like Matt DeCiani is here. Could he have been saving tires the whole time? Could have been holding back? It does appear that might be the case. You can just see Matt DeCiani hounding Patrick Gitter right now. I think the first 2 stages of this race, I'm pretty sure DeCiani was holding back. I think he was just playing it safe, to be honest with you, just to make sure that, hey, I get all the stage points that I can try to get, of course, without winning the stages. But he wants to win this race. He has been a road course ringer the last several races we've seen him in. Of course, the EPI duo right now have almost 5 seconds on Brandon Pastelacqua in third. Watching this battle. Let's take a look on the cockpit. Let's look on board with the one. Definitely, there's not a lot of people better to take you around the Charlotte Roval than Matt DeCiani. And one thing we haven't talked about is the shifting aspect of road course racing such as this. These guys really cannot put a tire wrong. This is such an exact style of racing. Of course, when you're at an oval race, you can or when you're in an oval competition, you can make a little bit more mistakes. You have a little bit more room for error. When you're at a track like this, when you're at a road course, you do not have that room for error. You have to hit your marks. Coming up on 31 to go. Matt DeCiani feeling the pressure, or should I say Patrick Gitter feeling the pressure. And this is the portion of the racetrack where DeCiani should be able to close in. But it looks like really DeCiani is not trying to catch him that hard. Look at that, Gitter attacking these curbs. And look at these laps. Look at the laps right now that Matt DeCiani is hitting. I mean, fastest laps he has hit all race long have been in the last couple laps. Minute 18.654. He is running laps that are faster than qualifying. What a driver, this one machine. I think he was just playing with his food. Can he get up here and take this lead? Patrick Gitter, last lap was very similar. These guys are pretty much matching each other step for step with lap times. Oh, a little contact with the wall there from DeCiani. Now keep in mind, the more these guys drive these cars like this, the more they possibly could be hurting their tires. Both of these drivers have not taken a set of tires the entire race. They have 43 laps on their equipment right now. Could that affect? Eventually these tires are going to have a limit. And the way they're driving it, they're going faster and faster. Eventually something's got to give. Patrick Gitter still a half a second over Matt DeCiani. Of course, Derek Heitman, who we're looking at on our screens right now, has moved up to the 5th place position. He got by Josh Schaffner. Schaffner, of course, wanting to finish in the top 5. Looks like that might not happen if Heitman stays out in front. Now, of course, we saw Schaffner on the longer runs was better than Heitman. Will he be able to work his way back up to him? We'll have to wait and see. Kenny Powell, of course, on the in the top 10 right now. He's about 3 seconds back from Chris Johnson. He needs as many points positions as he can possibly get Can he get up there to Johnson? Looking at the lap times at the moment. Of course, Chris Johnson to be exact, was about 0.6, 0.5, half a second essentially faster than Kenny Powell. Chris Johnson as well has been faster than Miller Bonds by about the same margin. Greg Wachinski's been turning some really good laps. Of course, he was matching lap times with Josh Schaffner. But Derek Heitman has been showing late race pace here with minute 19s, minute 20s. Could he possibly get up there and possibly get by Brian Johnson? Showing some late race pace here. And this does not surprise me. I kind of mentioned it earlier in the race about Derek Heitman, how he is a driver that, yeah, he might show up and not be as good as everybody else. But eventually, you give him 45 laps like we've given him here tonight, he's going to show up and he's going to be able to match you step for step. Very quick learner is this 76 driver. Of course, John Schaffner still matching him step for step here the last couple laps. They've only been separated by about 4 thousandths when it came to lap times. But the two EPI drivers have driven away from Brandon Pasalacqua, almost 8 seconds up on the Paradigm driver. Paradigm going to be looking for any way to possibly increase their chances of maybe going, be able to go toe-to-toe with a driver like Patrick Gitter or Matt DeCiani. Now, if we were at an oval track, I think they'd have a fairly good chance. But unfortunately, Patrick Gitter has proven that he, no matter what racetrack you're at, he has got the speed. And I don't think it matters what setup is underneath the hood for that race car. Of course, those EPI guys definitely bring the speed week in and week out as well, though. You got to give him credit. I think it's just a combination of things. His setup on the race car as well as the skill. You don't get up to a 7,000 I rating without being skilled. And I think Patrick Gitter is the definition of skill. Of course, Matt DeCiani has gotten so much better. That has really been the story of the season. How DeCiani has just improved significantly. Of course, he has been, if I'm not mistaken, a previous season champion. Has not won the Super Cup championship, though. He's in line to maybe do it this time. If he can continue to have the runs he's been having here. The only bad thing is he missed a couple races. And these races, unfortunately, put him below the cut line. If he finishes where he is right now, though, he will barely make it into the final 8. And that is not even including the final 4. That's going to be the big one. How does he make it into the final 4 when he's at a deficit of points? He's got to win. Of course, next week, Las Vegas on the docket. As you can see, just Matt DeCiani still hounding the 21. Also want to mention Frank Flores. Did not even notice this as 9 laps down. Not sure exactly what happened to the 8 machine. Got to give him credit, though. He did a fantastic job here today. For the most part, the first half of the race was up in contention. Maybe not for the win, but was definitely in contention for possibly a top 10. Mark Sanchez possibly going to go a lap down. He's about I do believe about a little over 1 minute back from Patrick Gitter. Of course, Patrick Gitter's hitting minute 19, minute 18 second laps at the moment. As we're on lap 47, coming to 40, or starting 48 now. I think when everything is all said and done, Patrick Gitter is probably going to put multiple drivers a lap down here. Could even put, I think, up to possibly 11th a lap down, possibly even 10th. But the battle was essentially, this has been the closest fight on the racetrack. has been the battle for the lead. Look at the way that DeCiani closes in to the back end. It's just so difficult to pass. I think that DeCiani is faster at the moment than Gitter, but unfortunately, he catches him at all the wrong places. He has to get, I think the only way that he's going to possibly make this pass happen on Gitter is if he makes a mistake. Matt DeCiani has got to wait for Patrick Gitter to make a mistake. And it's very easy to do at these road courses. Even Patrick Gitter, who is almost like Superman in the way that he drives around these courses, Superman still can make mistakes. Patrick Gitter is not invulnerable to those mistakes. As you can see, look at that. DeCiani going really wide, getting desperate. Only thing is a desperate man makes more mistakes. I'd really be careful if I was in DeCiani's shoes. Very easy to get caught up chasing that carrot on a stick. Even though he's had very good stage points in this race, it could all end in a moment's notice. We still have to run all the laps. He could go from finishing second right here to finishing in 15th if he makes a big enough mistake. And of course, that might be just enough to take him out of the round of 4, or round of 8, I should say. Also see some drivers starting to close in on one another. Of course, Miller Bond starting to close in on Greg Wyszynski. He's about 3 seconds back from Wyszynski. As well as Brandon Pasalacqua, somewhat getting caught by Brian Johnson. We are starting to see some battles start to come to fruition. As well as we got Josh Nolan fighting with Randy Mullins. Now keep in mind, Randy Mullins involved in an accident at the beginning of stage number 3. Him and Mark Sanchez got into each other. And unfortunately, he lost a lot of track position, and that could be just enough to possibly maybe kick him out of the round of 8. But he could also get very, very lucky, just considering, as we mentioned before, Darren Mullins, father of Randy, not in the race here tonight. Entered this race, I do believe, 6 points below the cut line. As well as Shane Parrish, who was 17 points above the cut line, I do believe, did not show up here tonight as well. Could very much have some sort of, could possibly, oh, we do. I just didn't even notice this. I was wondering, Matt DeCiani has taken the lead. We're going to have to take a look back and see this. And right here in the oval portions, I'm so sorry I didn't even notice it. But you see Patrick Gitter kind of moves up the racetrack. And Matt DeCiani takes his part, or takes the lead here, takes his seat on the throne here at Charlotte. And there it is, Matt DeCiani, new leader. And this changes everything. If he was not good on points to make it to the next round, he is now. A win guarantees a spot in the round of 8. It also will pay a lot of points. Of course, he finished second in both stages, as well as a win. He's going to be looking very good going into Vegas next week. And you can just tell that Patrick Gitter was not as quick as DeCiani, I don't think. I think DeCiani, I hate to say it, is the road course ringer of the EPI team in the ISCA. You can see right now, 1.5 seconds. DeCiani's driving away. He was not showing his full hand earlier in this race. He is now showing it, though. What a race for Matt DeCiani. Patrick Gitter, of course, dominated it. But unfortunately, you have to lead all of the laps, or not all of them. You got to lead the last one. And Matt DeCiani might have came in here and stolen the show. We were talking about it last week, how he missed a couple races. Oh, there goes Mark Sanchez, spun in front of the leader. It looks like I think DeCiani is going to get by him. And Mark Sanchez just been struggling here today at the Roval. Talked to him a little bit before the race. He did not feel comfortable with this racetrack. And what if the leaders had been coming through there a little bit earlier? That could have easily turned into a much different scenario. But fortunately for DeCiani and Gitter, they came through a little bit later. And that puts Mark Sanchez a lap down. J.C. Evans going to be the next one on the docket. Of course, he's about 1.8 seconds back from Matt DeCiani, so should be very soon that he'll probably be going a lap down. And now that we're coming up to 20 laps to go, I think now's a good time. We'll take a brief step away. We'll come back with the conclusion here of the race at the Charlotte Roval.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms. From camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I'm so tough, bro. We get a hug, man. What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISCA Thursday Super Cup Series. Of course, we see J.C. Evans now going a lap down. That leaves, of course, 13 drivers on the lead lap. Josh Nolan, next one on the docket to possibly get sent a lap down. Of course, while we were under our commercial break, we saw Derek Heitman get past Brian Johnson for the 4th place position. Derek Heitman definitely been looking quite quick here in the late. Taking a look at lap times right now. Of course, Matt DeCiani has been definitely been driving some really good, or hitting some really good lap times. Last time by, though, Patrick Gitter was a hair faster. I do believe, about 500ths or a half a tenth faster. So could we still see the battle for the lead maybe heat back up again? Also, Derek Heitman was last time by a little over 2/10 faster than Brandon Pasalacqua. So could we possibly see maybe Heitman get up into the top 3? He's not that far back from Pasalacqua right now. Heitman, kind of the unknown quantity, the driver we did not expect to be really in the fight for a podium. Looks like he is definitely going to be possibly making his presence known here tonight, though. As well as got to give some big credit to Miller Bonds. Been hitting some really good laps. Last time by, a minute 20.252. Very fast lap for him, as he is possibly going to catch up to Josh Schaffner. Still has quite a distance to go to get up there, though. Looking at the lap difference right now, it's about 10 seconds, or should I say the gap between Miller Bonds and Schaffner is about 10 seconds, of course. Bonds has been somewhat inconsistent when it comes to his lap times, but still very fast driver for sure. Can't wait to see this driver in competition next year. I hope that he sticks around with us and that he races for a title next year possibly, because he is going to be one that is he's going to be in contention in the playoffs, that's for sure. Has been showing speed all season long. Unfortunately for that driver, of course, he showed up a little bit later in the season, but has definitely showed a lot of pace. Gap right now between Brandon Pasalacqua and Derek Heitman is exactly 2 seconds. So, and I know that Pasalacqua's got to be looking in his rearview mirror right now. Now, he cannot let Heitman affect his performance. He has to focus ahead. This is a track that you have to hit your marks. If you start to really worry too much about what that driver's doing behind you, you're going to make mistakes. Coming up, I do believe, on 15 laps to go here. So the laps are starting to really count down. The race is definitely starting to reach its conclusion here very soon. Matt DeCiani out front, 2 seconds right now on Patrick Gitter. As you see Pasalacqua trying to hold on to this top 3, this podium position. Pasalacqua has finished third a lot of times at these road course races. Probably wants to keep the streak going, probably wants to do one better, but unfortunately, Matt DeCiani and Patrick Gitter have been better. And I hate to keep harping on that, but it looks like we might have possibly another driver that's just a little bit better at road courses. So hopefully, Brandon Pasalacqua takes this as a call to action to try and figure out what he is doing wrong, or what he could do better. Let's take a quick look at the top 10, though. Matt DeCiani in the lead. Patrick Gitter sits second. Brandon Pasalacqua third. Derek Heitman in 4th place. Brian Johnson's in 5th. Josh Schaffner's in 6th. Miller Bonds is in 7th. Greg Wachinski, who possibly had a chance for top 5, is up in 8th now. Chris Johnson's 9th. Kenny Powell, very good point stay for him. He's in 10th place. He has a possibility going a lap down, though, as Miller Bonds actually, or not Miller Bonds, Randy Mullins is getting ready to possibly go a lap down as well. But the battle we're watching is Brandon Pasalacqua versus Derek Heitman. Of course, we talked about it being about a 2-second gap. It has now gone down to a 1-second gap. Derek Heitman is coming. What can Pasalacqua do? The closer I think Heitman gets, the more concerning it is going to be. The more I think Pasalacqua might start to sweat. Take a look on board here with Derek Heitman. And there he goes, makes the pass look easy as Brandon Pasalacqua essentially moves up the track and gives him the position. And that's going to put Derek Heitman up to the third place position. Also see a battle, I do believe, starting to come to fruition here for the 12th place position. You see Josh Nolan under fire from Randy Mullins. Of course, Randy Mullins trying to get as many points as he can, recover from the accident earlier. Was up in the top 5 earlier in this race. But unfortunately, he is now back into 13th and just actually got 12th from Josh Nolan. And you can see back in the backdrop there, Matt DeCiani is coming. And there goes J.C. Evans getting put, of course, has just gotten already put a lap down, getting passed by Derek Heitman, as well as Brandon Pasalacqua was coming up. As we come up to 13 laps to go, will this lap traffic possibly hold up Matt DeCiani allow Patrick Gitter to possibly get back to his rear end? What does Josh Nolan do? Does he get out of the way of the leader? Of course, his responsibility, he does not have to get out of the way. But it looks like DeCiani fast enough to just go ahead and pass him. And what a race. These guys have got to be just so tired at this moment. I can imagine just the physical, I don't know, condition that this puts you in, considering having to turn left and right. And just being such a physical. Oh! Problems. DeCiani misses the chicane. And this is probably going to give the lead back maybe to Patrick Gitter. Matt DeCiani going to have to perform a slowdown for maybe Patrick Gitter to get back to DeCiani. Looks like not the case. I'm wondering if maybe Patrick Gitter might have made the same mistake because he actually lost time in the whole exchange. But you saw Matt DeCiani went through the chicane, had to serve a slowdown penalty. Looking at the lap times here, both of them having to slow down, I do believe. You can see the lap times actually, Matt DeCiani a minute 20.2, Patrick Gitter a minute 20.8. So definitely, I think Matt DeCiani and Patrick Gitter both possibly made the same mistake. And that could have been a big opportunity for the leader, or for Patrick Gitter, who led over half of this race. And just look at the lap times we've been seeing from Derek Heitman. Last time by, he was over a second faster than Matt DeCiani and Patrick Gitter. As Matt DeCiani starts lap number 11, or should I say 11 to go. Right now, there are 11 drivers on the lead lap. Jeffrey Souza next to go a lap down. Of course, you see him right there in front of DeCiani. Randy Mullins and Josh Nolan pretty much went a lap down in quick succession. Still, the question remains, do these guys have enough gas to make it to the end? I think they probably do. Otherwise, we probably have already seen a quick stop. But Matt DeCiani now 3 seconds up on Patrick Gitter. And DeCiani is going to probably catch Jeffrey Souza and Kenny Powell and put them both the lap down, maybe even Chris Johnson. And that's going to leave possibly 8 drivers on the lead lap. There's still enough time for that to be the case. And don't run off Brandon Pasalakwa to possibly finish on the podium. He's actually been running a little bit faster than Derek Heitman the last couple of times. I think possibly that Brandon Pasalakwa has been learning from Heitman. A lot of times when you're at these road courses, following that driver ahead of you, that driver that might be a little bit better than you, you can kind of equalize and maybe have a chance to beat him where he's weak if you watch what he's doing, if you sit behind him long enough. And I think that's what Pasalakwa has really been doing. Of course, the gap right now between these two is a second. But Pasalakwa is closing that gap down. Watching through the cockpit camera here of Brandon Pasalakwa. See how close to the wall that both of these drivers are getting. It just shows just how perfect you have to be at this racetrack. There is just such a minute, there's not a lot of room for error. If you hit that, I mean, especially on the exits of some of these corners, that wall is right there to meet you. Like, I mean, you see right here on the exit of this chicane. I mean, look at this, how close these guys get to these walls, how much counter steering they're having to do. You can just tell that it seems like Heitman is better through certain portions of this racetrack than Pasalakwa is. And it could be that also Pasalakwa maybe suffering from that carrot on a stick mentality. But you see Derek Heitman catching up to a lap car. Do you believe that is Josh Nolan? Kenny Powell now has gone a lap down. Chris Johnson next up on the docket. Of course, he still has a little bit of a gap back to Matt DeCiani, so shouldn't have to worry about it too much at the moment. Could possibly stay on the lead lap if he doesn't make too many mistakes here. Looking at lap times right now, Derek Heitman turning some of the fastest laps of the competition that last time by. Brian Johnson also turning some really fast laps in that 5th place position. He, of course, incredibly fast. Actually, look at that. Matt DeCiani turning up the heat once again, 19.1. And I'm wondering, because we saw DeCiani and Gitter earlier in this stint turning 18-second laps. I mean, minute 18-second laps. I'm shocked that they're kind of slowing it down. I'm wondering if that might have something to do with maybe saving gas a little bit here. Maybe they don't want to drive it quite as hard, so they'll save just a hair of gas. We're going to take a look and pull up one of our cameras here we have. That is, of course, Chris Johnson. Of course, he's getting ready to go a lap down because of Matt DeCiani, and figured we'd watch him as he is getting around the racetrack. Love these cameras that we have the ability, of course, to show what these guys are doing as they're out here on this racetrack, especially at a track like this. This is an awesome ability to have, to be able to watch their movements and things like that. And this just shows you how physical this truly is to getting around this racetrack. You can see right here through this camera, Matt DeCiani closing in quickly. And I think Chris Johnson is going to end up going a lap down. You see Chris Johnson kind of letting the one machine go. And that puts, of course, only 8 drivers on the lead lap. I think Greg Wachinski going to be the last driver on the lead lap, and I think he's going to stay there, considering we're coming up very close to, I do believe, 5 to go. As, of course, Matt DeCiani is going to cross the line to complete lap 67. And this will start, I do believe, us with, I think, 6 laps to go, if my math serves me correctly. But the gap back to Patrick Gitter, almost 3 seconds. Derek Heitman, he's about 17, almost 18 seconds back from DeCiani. Pasalacqua, of course, about 2 seconds back from Heitman. Johnson, about 6 seconds back from Pasalacqua. Of course, Josh Schaffner, just shy of being in the top 5. Talked about how he wanted to get his team up in the top 5. Well, he does have 4th and 5th right now, Paradigm. And, of course, him being in 6th. Not a bad day for the Paradigm group. Definitely not a bad day for the EPI group. Fantastic day for the 1 and the 21. Unfortunately, Shane Parrish not making it here. Definitely going to put a giant question mark if he's going to make it to the next round. And I got to be completely honest. I'm a little heartbroken to see Shane Parrish not making it into this race here today. And if he doesn't make it into the next round, that's definitely going to be a lot of disappointment, in my opinion, just considering how good that driver has been on the longer runs. He's been, maybe not on the road courses, but at oval tracks, any track that you have to be use tire wear or kind of save your resources, he has been the man to beat when it comes to out of the EPI drivers. So I think that he possibly could have had a chance for a championship, and I hope that if it's razor thin, that he makes it. Razor thin margin. It could be that he barely makes it. It could be that he doesn't. I mean, not racing a race is huge, especially when you have 17 drivers show up at the road course. I mean, a lot of times the amount of points you can gain in these races are based on how many people show up. And this is quite a field for a road course race. Of course, last week we had almost 30 cars, but it's hard to get people to show up to these kind of races. They're so intimidating. And who can blame them? I mean, this is such an intimidating form of racing, especially with this stock car. I mean, if you were to take like a Indy car or something like that around a track like this, of course, it'd still be difficult, but it's nowhere near as physical as this is. I mean, these cars are lumbering, heavy things. You got to force them to do what you want to do what you want them to do. As here comes DeCiani out of the last turn here to start. Of course, lap, I do believe this is lap 69. We have 4 laps to go. And I do have a battle going on as well for, of course, I do believe 6th position. Miller Bonds actually just made his way by Brian Johnson. That's kind of a shock. And as well as you see, a lot of these drivers that are further back have slowed down a little bit. I think a lot of these guys are starting to fall victim to the wear and tear that you kind of get through this racetrack. And I'm not talking about vehicle wear and tear. I'm talking about physical wear and tear. As here comes Brian Johnson to try to make the pass back. Bonds had made the pass earlier. Johnson back to the inside, and he's going to get back up into 6th. As well as Derek Heitman, who was up in 3rd, has lost that position. What did we miss here? We're going to see what happened here to Derek Heitman. And I think he might have lost it. He was up in 3rd place. Now Pasalacqua and Schaffner are up in the top 5. We have seen a huge shakeup in the running order here towards the end of this race. And I'm not sure why. It was not based on a crash. Derek Heitman came to pit road, did not have enough gas, I do believe, to make it to the end. And that is why Brandon Pasalacqua ended up into third place. I think Brian Johnson might have had to pit as well. Yes, you see Brian Johnson. Oh, I was wondering what happened here. Brian Johnson pops down pit road, so these drivers did not have enough gas. That puts the question mark beside Matt DeCiani and also Patrick Gitter. Do they have enough fuel? As we come, I do believe, to now 2 to go as DeCiani exits the last corner. That was a mystery I'm glad we solved, because Derek Heitman, I was like, what happened? He was up in third and all of a sudden had lost that position. So could possibly Pasalacqua, who had let Heitman go, have been saving? Could the same thing be true for John Schaffner? Could he have been saving fuel? Will Matt DeCiani have enough gas to make it? As we see 5 seconds back is Patrick Gitter. And Gitter might even be saving fuel. I think that this is going to be razor thin on the gas here coming to the end of this race. Still 8 drivers on the lead lap. Greg Wyszynski very close to possibly going a lap down. But Matt DeCiani getting ready to take the white flag. Does he have enough fuel? Looking at lap times, DeCiani hitting some of his fastest laps of the race, minute 18.9. If he doesn't have enough fuel, he sure is not showing it as he takes the white flag. And the final lap has been started here by Matt DeCiani. And of course, Patrick Gitter dominated the first half. Matt DeCiani dominates the second half. And, of course, we were wondering if he was going to be able to make it to the next round. Well, I think our question has been answered. If he wins this race, he will move on. Does he have enough gas? If he doesn't, he will not win this race and might be in danger of not making it to the next round. He comes to the infield, back onto the oval portion. The track, part of the track where you burn the most gas, is the oval portion. He comes into the backstretch chicane. Now let's see, will he be able to make it? As he comes through, of course, what is on the oval portion, turn 3 and 4, into the final chicane. I think he might just be able to coast it from here. You see Patrick Gitter almost 7 seconds back. Matt DeCiani is going to win here at Charlotte. He didn't need to win, but he needed to do good, and apparently he took that a step further with a victory. He's going to take home the trophy. And, of course, Patrick Gitter coming home in that second place position, won both Stage 1 and Stage 2. And he's going to come home in second. Awesome points day for Patrick Gitter. Brandon Pasalacqua going to cross the line in third place. As well as Josh Schaffner coming home in the fourth place position. Of course, we're still waiting on some drivers to still cross the start-finish line to complete the race. Let's see if Greg Wyszynski can make it. I think he's going to come into the final chicane. And I think that'll pretty much wrap up the positions here. Till Miller Bonds almost ran out of gas coming to the line. But let's take a look at the final results here at the Charlotte Roval. After 73 laps, Matt DeCiani is going to take the victory. Had over 7 seconds on Patrick Gitter, who finished in second place. Brandon Pasalacqua finished third. Josh Schaffner in fourth. Derek Heitman fifth. Brian Johnson in sixth. Miller Bonds in 7th. Greg Wachinski, last driver on the lead lap in 8th. 9th place, Chris Johnson. 10th, Kenny Powell. 11th place, Jeffrey Souza. 12th, Randy Mullins. 13th, Allison Nolan, or Josh Nolan, I should say. 14th, J.C. Evans. 15th, Mark Sanchez. Frank Flores in 16th. And John Binder finishes in 17th. With that, we're going to take one more step away, and we'll come back and we'll talk to our top 3 finishers.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms, from camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I feel comfortable, bro. We get a hug, man. What have you done, Jim?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISCA Thursday Super Cup Series race here at the Charlotte Roval. Of course, we're going to be talking to our third place finisher, Brandon Pasalacqua. It almost looked like you weren't going to finish in third. I know Heitman definitely seemed like he passed you there later, but it almost seemed like you let him go. Was that kind of to save gas? I mean, because it seemed like gas was really tight there towards the end.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I let him go. I was trying to save gas. For some reason, I've been having terrible fuel mileage all week compared to my teammates. So I knew as soon as we got off pit road in that last stage that I would need to start saving immediately. I was super impressed with Matt and Patrick on how they were able to save and make it without pitting, especially with their lap time. So kudos to them. And yeah, I let Heitman go. I mean, he was running really great lap times at that time anyway. So it would have been a good battle between the two of us. And I figured it'd just be best if I saved my fuel and took care of my car, and luckily came out with a P3 because of it.
Yeah, definitely a good job to you. And I kind of talked about you a little bit during the race as well. That when you come to these road courses, it seems like Matt DeCiani and Patrick Gitter are just a hair better than you. Like, what do you do to to try to get up to their level? Like, what are you doing? Actively.
Yeah, no, it's just a lot of laps. It's just a lot of practice, and I watched all the setup shops videos, and I see high 117s and 18s out there, and I feel like I'm doing the same thing, but it looks like everybody's just carrying just a little bit more speed than I am in in certain sections of the track, and it adds up to a second to 1.5 seconds over the course of a lap. So kudos again to those guys for being able to put down great lap times. It's not only remarkable to be able to put down a fast lap, but to do it consistently is phenomenal. And yeah, hopefully one of these days I get there. But for me, it's just be consistent with my own lap times and whatever pace that is, and hopefully have a clean car at the end.
Well, you definitely did both of those things. I mean, you finished third. You got some good points. You're definitely going to be moving on to the round of 8. Speaking of that, next week we start the round of 8 at Vegas. How you feeling about that?
Yeah, I had a good run there. I think we finished second back in the beginning of the season. Obviously the field's a little bit more jam packed with talent now than it was at the beginning. So it'll be a hard fought race. And these mile and a half tracks, the competition is so tough, and there's such a lot of parity between all the drivers there. So just be managing the race and hopefully save a little bit of tire, then have something at the end for hopefully a good finish.
All right. Well, Brandon, great job on the third place finish. Of course, you definitely did a good job. I mean, got some good points. Next week we're going to be going to Vegas. A very consistent day today, though. Who can we give a shout out to?
Yeah, definitely want to give a shout out to Matt and Patrick. Awesome job. Shout out to my Paradigm Motorsports boys, Josh, Brian, and Chris. We had decent pace today. Obviously, we weren't the fastest, but we'll keep learning and keep working. And then we thank Kenny and everything he does for ISCA. And then Brian, thank you so much for everything you do in the booth.
All right. Thanks, Brandon. We'll see you next time.
All right, take care. Thank you.
All righty. That was Brandon Pasalaco. Of course, next up, we're going to be talking to the 21 of Patrick Gitter. And of course, Patrick, I mean, you dominated the show in the first half. I mean, you won stage 1, you won stage 2. What was the difference in stage 3? I mean, you kind of even said that you thought DeCiani may have been holding back. Was that kind of realized, it seemed like, at the end there?
Yeah, for sure, Brian. I mean, I am just that an area I need to really work on is being able to fuel save and fuel mileage situations and also hold decent pace while doing so. And I know Matt is a lot better at that than I am. And um, I had gotten out to a little bit of a lead early just off the restart. I saw him kind of reeling that in, and we were coming to the backstretch, one of those laps. I mean, I knew it was just a matter of time, so I wasn't interested in fighting him for it, and let him go there, just knowing he was going to have better pace than I would trying to save. So I think that was a difference. But I mean, Matt in general is just a phenomenal road racer, so hats off to him for winning it tonight.
Yeah, and it just seemed like there was almost a flip of a switch there at the start of stage 3, to where when we saw stage 1 and 2, like he seemed like, oh, you look like you were better, like you were pulling off on him, and he would fall back to 2 or 3 seconds or something like that. But in this one, he did not leave you alone. Like he was there the whole time, just like all over your rear end. Was that also kind of a little bit intimidating, having him all over you like that? Just make it a lot of times when you look in your rear view mirror, it makes it so you can't look out your front.
Right, yeah. I was watching to see if he was going to make a move to pass, and I saw him closing there in 1 and 2, come to the backstretch. I saw he had the momentum, and it was something I was aware of, and I saw that it was going to work out well to let him pass there. We weren't going to lose much pace if we sorted it out at that spot. So, but I mean, Matt's such a good teammate. I mean, if it was somebody else, then I'd probably be a little more anxious. But Matt and I work so well together, we kind of know what the other's thinking, even if we're not talking about it in Discord. So it just worked out right there to let him do his thing, and then it was just good practice for me tonight. I think trying to manage the fuel situation.
Well, definitely a great point today for you, for sure. I mean, you won stage 1 and stage 2. Of course, you were already locked into the round of 8 with a victory. But this is just going to help you, I think, secure good footing, for possibly getting into the round of 4. How you feeling about Vegas next week?
I like Vegas a lot, man. It's one of those mile and a halves where, like a lot of the others, you got to be able to save tire. I've had some pretty good success there, so I'll just be happy to go to a mile and a half at this point after the Roval and Dega recently. So I think it'll be a good shakeup.
All right. Well, who can we give a shout out to, Patrick? I'm sorry. I was about to call you
Yeah, man.
Brandon.
Well, speaking of, shout out to Brandon for third place tonight. Yeah, he ran a great race, and also Matt for the win. The guys again at Race EPI and Team Conti for the set this week. Conti's worked on the set a lot this week to get us where we're at. Matt's done a heck of a job building on it too, and giving us some feedback. So I appreciate his help with that this week. I know the other guys at EPI do as well. Martin PC, it's a newer paint scheme I'm running tonight from C12 Design Shop. Love their work. Reach out to them if you want to paint. Shout out to you guys in the booth. Appreciate what you do. And again, appreciate Kenny for running the league.
All right, Patrick. Well, great job on the second place and, of course, stage 1 and stage 2 victories. We'll see you next week at Vegas.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
All righty, that was Patrick Gitter, driver of the 21 RaceEPI.com machine. Definitely fantastic performance from him here today. But the next one up is pretty much, he's been the road course king here as of late. Matt DeCiani, you came in here 9 points below the cut line. You're going to exit this race here as a winner, and you're definitely going on to the next round. I mean, I know you probably didn't want to miss the last couple races, but you did, and it kind of put you in a little bit of a more of a desperate kind of, I think, mood or mindset. Do you feel like that's the case when you came in here tonight?
I mean, I knew I was going to miss the last, 2 previous weeks. I kind of had the mindset thinking I needed to win tonight. It turns out I really didn't need to, but I kind of expected it a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and I think we've even talked. We kind of talked that up as well last week. We were kind of saying, oh, he needs to win, but he was 9 points back. You could have probably finished in second or top 5 and probably would have been just fine. But a win definitely does it for sure. But I mean, it seems like you've just gotten so good at these road courses, and it also, like I was kind of mentioning with Patrick, it seemed like at the end of stage 2, going to stage 3, when you guys started stage 3, the green flag flew. Some type of flip switched, or a switch flipped in your brain or something, to where you just started hounding Patrick Gitter. What was the difference? Were you just not trying in 1 and 2, or what?
No, I mean, I was trying, but like, if this wasn't a fuel mileage race, I don't necessarily know I would have beat Patrick straight up. There's just certain things you got to do to save fuel and have pace, and I kind of played around with that in the first couple stages near the end, kind of just seeing what I could get fuel mileage to see what I could do here in this third stage. But yeah, I think if it was a straight up sprint, no fuel saving, I don't know if I would have beat him. He has had about a tenth or so on me all week. So I mean, but yeah, I mean, it's just the way the race played out.
Well, it definitely was a fantastic race between you two. It now has got me salivating to see a straight up sprint between you two. But definitely a great job, winning your way into the round of 8. How are you feeling about Vegas? I mean, I know you're going to be, I mean, pretty good on the points, but still, not going to really be at a rest, considering we're going to the round of 4 right after that.
Yeah, I think the points are going to be pretty tight, but I mean, a lot of us got a lot of playoff points, so I really don't think there's going to be much of a difference. I mean, now if someone that's not, let's say, in the top 4 in playoff points gets a win, it's going to make things really, really tight. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Vegas is hit or miss. We'll see what we got next week, but yeah, I think we'll be all right.
Well, we definitely look forward to seeing how that all works out for you, Matt. Great job on the victory. I mean, definitely, you were I don't know if I should say you were the underdog, but just the way stage 1 and stage 2 went, it made me think like, okay, maybe Patrick's got him covered. But you definitely came in with a surprise victory and won in dominating passion as well. I mean, 7 seconds you had over Patrick. Fantastic job. Who can we shout out after this victory?
Yeah, thanks to you, Brian, for calling the race. Thanks for Kenny for putting on the league. Shout out to EPI, Martin PC. And then, yeah, Patrick and Brandon on their second and third place finishes.
All right, Matt. Well, thanks for your time. I do want to bring in one last person. Of course, I want to see Kenny Powell. Have you gotten the results tallied up? Who is going to be moving on and who is not?
I'm still crunching the numbers. I don't have that tally just yet.
Oh, I guess so. We'll have to possibly wait until possibly next week, or you can actually go to the ISCA website. I do believe that is iRacingStockCarAssociation.com, and I do believe the points should be up there when they are finished on the tally. But I'm definitely waiting in anticipation to find out exactly who's going to make it to the, of course, Vegas as a championship hopeful. But we definitely appreciate everything that Kenny Powell does for us. I know probably a lot of pressure for sure, but we definitely appreciate all the drivers that put on quite the show here today as well. Matt DeCiani, definitely a big congratulations to him getting the victory. Patrick Gitter for dominating the first half of this race. Brandon Pasalacqua for putting up a valiant fight as well. And just everybody out there just putting on the shows that we expect to see here on the in the ISCA. Of course, make sure you tune in. We're going to be starting the round of 8 next week at Las Vegas, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. We'll see, of course, the stream start. 9:30, a little after that, we'll see the race itself begin. We'll be going back to the oval racing, and of course, we're going to go to Vegas, which is a 1.5-mile track that is always exciting to see. We're going to see a lot of fast guys going head-to-head, double file, maybe even some three-wide racing. Cannot wait to see it for sure. Make sure you tune in. We can't wait to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time.